my friends, and welcome to Paulina Art. Today I'm going to be painting this pretty spring painting with some nice orange roses and a bluebird. What inspired me to do this painting is that in spite that it's very cold outside and still we have lots of snow, I hear the birds chirping outside my window announcing spring is coming. This is my own design. I'm going to link my Facebook page where you can download the pattern for free. I'm also going to list all the colors that I use for this painting. If you would like to see how I created the spring messenger, stay with me and let's paint together. Today I'm working on 9 by 12 canvas. And as you can see, I've already done my background. For my background, I use white gesso. I normally use white gesso instead of white acrylic paint when doing my backgrounds. So in all of this area, I applied turquoise. Then I started mixing some of my white gesso to create a softer turquoise. And around here, I mixed the gesso with a little bit of yellow just to create some warmth on the composition. I have already transferred my pattern, and when I transfer my pattern, I use a pencil because it creates a much softer effect than if you use a pen or a ballpoint or something like that. With a pencil, it transfers very nice and softly. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put a base coat on my bird. Because this part is very light, I'm not going to need to add a white coat on the bird first. I'm going to apply my base coat on the bird and on my roses. Sometimes I apply a base coat on the leaves, but I'm not going to do that today. I'm going to show you different ways on how to paint the leaves. For my roses, I'm using Vermillion, which is a very dark orange color. So I'm going to start with my base coat. And I don't have to be super careful when I do this because I'm going to paint on top afterwards. Make sure you keep your roses nice and small because we don't want to overpower the whole composition if the roses get to be too large. For the outer petals, I'm adding some yellow with the vermilion just so I can distinguish my outer petals. It really helps to know where your rose is and where the outer petals are going to be. I'm going to start adding some coats of paint on my bird, and I have some black and brown on my liner brush because I don't want the black to be very strong, so I'm going to paint the eye and the beak. And I'm going to do the little feet here with more brown than black. I'm just going to add the illusion of the feet there. And with a round brush, I'm going to apply yellow to the chest. This is my base, my first coat on the bird, just to establish the colors that I'm going to be using. And I'm going to use the same turquoise that I use for my background. I'm going to use that for the body. I'm going to leave a little bit of white around the eye just to make it more interesting. And I left a little bit of white so I know where the wings join. I'm going to be using this flat brush for the leaves and the branches. This one is a number 12. I have green on one side and brown on the other. I'm going to mix it and blend it. I already have some floating medium on the brush, and this just helps me blend the colors, and it makes the colors run smooth over the canvas. I'm going to do all my branches at this point. Okay, my friends, we're going to start painting the roses at this point. I like to use an angle brush for my flowers. I find it much easier, especially when painting roses. This one is a 3/8. The way I choose my brushes is not by the number, but I press my brush and I see if this is going to be the right size to do my petals, and this is going to be the right size because I'm testing it here on my outer petals. I already have some floating medium on my brush, and I have white at the toe and vermilion at the heel, and I'm going to make sure the bristles of the brush are covered with paint, and I'm adding some yellow at the toe as well with the white. And I'm going to press the orange towards the center of my bud and the light color towards the outside, towards the outer petal. And I'm just going to move my brush and create this lower petal. I'm now going to do this side outer petal. And I'm always respecting the center of my rose. I'm moving the petal towards the inside of the rose. I make sure my brush is loaded with paint every time I do a petal. I'm going to do this one. And if I move my canvas, it's easier for me. Probably be easier for you too. Again, I'm moving towards the center of my rose. I've done my 3 outer petals. I'm now going to do a nice large back petal that I'm going to start around the middle of this side petal. And I'm going to end it around here, halfway the other side petal. I have more white now on the top of my brush, more white than yellow, because I want my inner petals to show. I'm now going to do a second center petal. This one is going to be smaller than the first one. And I'm going to do a third one. At this point, I'm going to start closing them. I'm going to close the second. I'm going to go down and around and up. And I'm going to start adding my side petals. I'm going to continue with this one. I'm going to go out and then in. And the same with this one. I'm going to press it out and then in. And I'm going to do a nice bottom petal. I'm going to go, and I can add a little bit of movement to make it more pretty. And to finish my rose, I'm going to add a couple of side petals right in here. I'm following the center of my rose, and my last one on this side. And I can bring it across like this. And my first rose is done. Let's do the small rosebud. My brush is loaded the same way as I painted the rose, and I'm going to press it the dark at the bottom, and I'm going to slide my brush up, And I'm going to do it again. I'm going to press and bring it up. And my rosebud is done. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish my other roses. Okay, all my roses are done. While my roses dry, let's work on our bluebird a little bit more. And I'm going to be using the same small angled brush that I use for my roses. I'm picking up some of my floating medium and removing the excess. And I have some ultramarine blue just at the toe. And I'm going to blend it, but making sure the blue is only at the toe. And with this, I'm going to define the bird's face more. And because I have my medium, this is blending really nicely. I'm doing the little cheeks on the face. I'm going to define the wings. And if you go over, just clean it up with a damp brush and everything is good. And I'm going to define the tail. I'm bringing it up like this. I have some yellow and some of my vermilion to create this pale orange. And I'm going to add some on his chest. And I'm going to move my brush, creating a little bit of feathers following the shape of his little belly. I have mixed a very pale yellow with white and yellow, and this is what I'm adding in on top of the chest. And I'm going to add some of the pale yellow on the beak just to add more definition, just a little bit. I'm switching to my liner brush. I'm going to add a little bit of white around the eye. I'm going to add a little highlight on the eye. Just a dot of white. And with a small filbert brush and some white and ultramarine blue, I can add the effect of feathers, a little bit of highlight. And I'm going to add a little bit of a highlight on the feet just behind here, a little bit of pale yellow. Let's paint some of the leaves. And for the leaves, I'm going to be using the same flat brush. It's a number 12. My palette is getting very messy, sorry. I have green on one side and white on the other. Now I'm going to make sure the bristles are covered in paint. And I have some yellow with the white, just to warm up the white, create a nice pale yellow. And I'm going to show you different ways in which you can paint the leaves. If you press your brush with the light color in and the dark green towards the outside, we're going to create this kind of leaf. And I'm going to do the same. I'm keeping the yellow towards the inside of the leaf and the dark green towards the outside. And I can lift my brush as if the leaf is turning a little bit. And with the dark green, the chisel edge of the brush with the green, we can trace the inside of the leaf. Another way you can paint your leaf is with the light towards the outside. And then we're going to switch it up, and we're going to have the dark towards the outside. And again, we're going to draw the vein of the leaf. And this creates a really pretty 3D effect. Another way is to keep the light color towards the edge, towards the outside of the leaf. And we're going to do the same here. We're going to keep the light color towards the outside. And this creates yet another very pretty effect. Before we finish all our leaves, let's do the sepals on the buds and these small buds that have not flowered yet, that they are closed. My brush is loaded the same way as I loaded it for the leaves. And I'm going to press the dark color at the bottom of my bud. And I'm going to hug the bud as I'm coming up. I'm going to do the same on the other side. And we can do one in the center here. And some to the sides. And we're going to do the bottom. Just like that. Let's do this one that hasn't opened yet. I'm going to press the bottom. I'm going to lift it up. And again. And I'm going to do it again one more time. And I'm going to do the bottom part. My small rosebuds are all done. And before I finish all the leaves, I want to do all the small leaves on these branches. And for that, I have some of my turquoise at one end of my brush and green on the other. Now I'm going to blend it here, make sure my bristles are covered in paint. And I'm also adding a drop of white with my turquoise. And with the dark green at the bottom, I'm going to start making small leaves on these vines just by pressing my brush. I'm going to go ahead and fill all my vines with these pretty leaves. And the ones where my bird is as well. Okay, all the leaves on my vines are done. I'm going to go ahead and finish painting the leaves of my roses in different variations of what I showed you. You can highlight your roses a little bit if you like, with some floating medium on the brush and a little bit of yellow and white at the tip. Without overdoing it, you can touch up some of the edges to make them pop a little bit more. Okay, my friends, our spring painting is done. I hope you enjoy this video as much as I enjoy doing this painting. I hope you learned something new. If you like this video, please give it a like, comment below, share with your friends, and subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss any future content from me. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you on the next one.